the sound of ancient pages creaking under the weight of time. A dim candlelight flickers, casting shadows over a parchment filled with Latin characters. The image of a man scribbling furiously, as though he knew the world had to hear his warning. This is where our story begins. Over 1,800 years ago, during a time of chaos, persecutions, and upheaval, one man made a prediction. His words, inked onto ancient manuscripts, spoke of a chilling future, one that seemed like madness back then, but today, with the lens of the present, carries a terrifying significance. His name was Tertullian. A bold thinker, a spiritual leader, and a man who defied the limits of his time. His writings, though steeped in theology, contained warnings that seemed to speak directly to the modern world. But how could this be? How could someone who lived in the 2nd century have foreseen what we are living through today? Some call it coincidence. Others believe he was a visionary, enlightened by a higher wisdom. And then there are those who claim his message was intentionally buried, that the truth was hidden beneath layers of history, so humanity would never be prepared for what was to come. But now it's all coming to light. The pieces are falling into place. Tertullian's prophecy has awakened, and the world is witnessing its fulfillment before our very eyes. What exactly did he say? Why do his words resonate more than ever? And what do they reveal about what lies ahead in the coming years? The answer takes us to the man behind the prophecy. To truly grasp the depth of this prophecy, we must first understand the man behind it, Tertullian. Born in the ancient city of Carthage in the 2nd century, Tertullian emerged during a time of monumental change. The Roman Empire was grappling with internal strife and external threats, and in this crucible of uncertainty, new ideas and bold convictions began to take shape. Before embracing Christianity, Tertullian was well versed in the art of rhetoric and Roman law. His early life in a predominantly pagan society endowed him with the skills to argue persuasively, a talent he later used to defend his newfound faith with unmatched fervor. His transition from a pagan intellectual to one of the most influential voices in early Christian thought marks him as a man of profound conviction and insight. Tertullian's writings were more than mere theological treatises. They were impassioned pleas for moral and spiritual renewal. He did not hesitate to criticize the excesses of both secular society and the emerging ecclesiastical hierarchy. His direct and often controversial critiques challenged the status quo, earning him both admiration and opposition. It is this very boldness that allowed him to articulate a vision of a future where the decay of traditional values and the corruption of power would precipitate a critical turning point for humanity. Understanding his life and the context in which he wrote sets the stage for exploring the prophetic messages that continue to resonate in our modern world. Delving into Tertullian's writings reveals a man who was not only a theologian, but also a visionary prophet. With a pen fueled by fervor and insight, he chronicled warnings that transcended his time. In his works, Tertullian foretold a future where the foundations of both faith and society would be shaken to their core. Central to his prophecies is the warning against the dilution of sacred values. He described a time when the Church, originally a beacon of divine truth, would become entangled in worldly corruption. Tertullian cautioned that as the institution compromised its core mission, the purity of the message would be lost, leaving believers vulnerable to deception. His words resonate with a timeless warning that when institutions forsake their spiritual roots, they invite moral decay. But Tertullian's vision extended beyond the realm of organized religion. He also painted a vivid picture of societal decline, where personal indulgence and the relentless pursuit of pleasure would override traditional virtues. He envisioned a world where discipline, humility, and piety were replaced by self-serving ambitions and moral relativism. This erosion of collective ethics, he believed, would precipitate a crisis, one that could dismantle the very fabric of society. Yet, amid these grim forecasts, there exists an undercurrent of hope. Tertullian's prophecies were not meant to be a mere chronicle of impending doom. Rather, they served as a clarion call for a return to an authentic and righteous way of living. He urged his contemporaries to heed the divine warnings and realign themselves with enduring principles of truth and integrity before it was too late. As we draw parallels between Tertullian's ancient words and our modern world, the signs are hard to ignore. The patterns of moral disintegration and institutional compromise he described are emerging in unexpected ways today. In connecting these prophetic insights to contemporary events, we are compelled to ask, are we on the verge of reliving the decline that Tertullian so vividly predicted? Tertullian's prophecy finds echoes in modern society through a confluence of events that resonate with his ancient warnings. Today, we witness a world in which the moral fabric appears to be unraveling, mirroring the decline he forewarned. The rapid spread of misinformation, the polarization of society, and the erosion of long-held ethical values are phenomena that illustrate this unsettling trend. In the realm of religion, institutions once revered for their spiritual guidance have increasingly become embroiled in scandals and internal strife. The Church, meant to be a sanctuary of faith and integrity, now faces accusations of corruption, hypocrisy, and moral compromise. This discord echoes Tertullian's admonitions about the distortion of sacred truths and the abandonment of the genuine spiritual path. The once unified voice of the Church is fragmented, leaving believers to navigate a maze of competing interpretations and diluted doctrines. Beyond the ecclesiastical sphere, the societal landscape reveals further signs of decay. The relentless pursuit of individual gain, coupled with the erosion of communal values, has led to a pervasive sense of isolation and distrust. As traditional social structures crumble, we witness a growing trend where personal indulgence overshadows collective responsibility. This shift is reminiscent of Tertullian's vision of a world where self-interest eclipses communal integrity, ultimately paving the way for a crisis of morality. Political arenas, too, are not immune to these forces. The rise of populist movements, driven by divisive rhetoric and the exploitation of fear, underscores a deep-seated disillusionment with established institutions. Leaders, once expected to embody service and accountability, now frequently engage in power plays that destabilize society. Such political volatility is a modern manifestation of the cyclical decline Tertullian predicted. Authority is subverted by those prioritizing personal ambition over the common good. Furthermore, the digital age has accelerated these transformations. Social media platforms, while connecting billions, have also become breeding grounds for misinformation and superficial exchanges. The instantaneous spread of unverified information creates an environment where truth becomes relative and manipulation runs rampant. This digital disarray reinforces the notion that traditional safeguards of knowledge and virtue are failing, just as Tertullian warned would happen when humanity strayed from its spiritual moorings. Ultimately, the convergence of these signs, the corruption within religious institutions, the disintegration of societal values, political instability, and the chaos of the digital era, paints a compelling picture. When compared to Tertullian's ancient prophecies, it suggests that his warnings are not only relevant but alarmingly accurate. Our modern world, with all its complexities and contradictions, appears to echo the patterns of decline he once described, urging us to reflect deeply on our present path and the future that lies ahead. As we move forward from the evidence of decline and decay we have explored, the next phase of our journey leads us to the moment of revelation, a point where Tertullian's warnings and our present realities converge to foretell what the future may hold. If the signs of moral erosion and institutional corruption are indeed echoes of his ancient prophecies, then what can we expect as the ultimate outcome of this spiritual crisis? Tertullian's writings do not merely dwell on the decline of the past and present, they extend into the realm of the future, offering a glimpse of a transformative era that is yet to unfold. He envisioned a time when the culmination of humanity straying from sacred values would precipitate a profound and unavoidable reckoning. In this coming age, the battle between light and darkness is destined to intensify, with the forces of corruption reaching a zenith before the emergence of a powerful, restorative awakening. Looking ahead, Tertullian predicted that as society plunges further into individualism and the pursuit of self-interest, a dramatic shift would occur, one that would dismantle the established order and force a confrontation with the ultimate truth. This turning point is not meant to be solely catastrophic. Rather, it is portrayed as a necessary upheaval that paves the way for spiritual regeneration. In his vision, the collapse of outdated structures would clear the path for a new era where a return to authentic, time-tested virtues becomes not just possible, but essential for survival. The transformation Tertullian speaks of involves both a crisis and a subsequent renewal. On one hand, the worsening state of moral decay, fueled by political instability and rampant misinformation, could lead to unprecedented chaos. On the other hand, this very chaos may serve as a catalyst for a mass awakening, a collective realization that the old ways no longer serve humanity's higher purpose. As people begin to question the narratives fed to them by a fragmented and failing system, the seeds for a new, more enlightened society could be sown. Moreover, Tertullian's prophecy invites us to reflect on the power of choice. Even as the signs of decline become more pronounced, he reminds us that the future is not predetermined. Each individual's decision to embrace truth, to return to the fundamentals of faith, and to live with integrity can contribute to altering the course of destiny. The coming days, as depicted in his writings, are not solely about inevitable destruction, but also about the possibility of redemption and rebirth. It is a call to arms for the spirit, a challenge to reclaim the values that have been lost in the pursuit of modern convenience and superficial success. As we stand on the threshold of this potential turning point, the moment of revelation looms large. The events yet to come, as foretold by Tertullian, serve both as a dire warning and as an opportunity, a chance to learn from the past and to steer our collective future towards a path of renewal. It is a critical juncture where the actions we take today could determine whether we continue down the road of decay or rise to meet the promise of a new beginning. In this convergence of prophecy and present reality, we are left to wonder, will we heed the ancient call to return to our spiritual roots and restore what has been lost? Or will we allow the forces of modernity to carry us into an abyss of irreversible decline? As we have explored the warning signs, the looming moment of revelation, and the profound implications of Tertullian's teachings, we arrive at a crucial crossroads. It's now time to ask ourselves, how do we move forward in the face of this spiritual crisis? What concrete steps can we take to prevent the decline from reaching a breaking point and to ensure that the vision of renewal and spiritual awakening becomes a reality? The path forward lies not in passive observation, but in active participation. Tertullian's words echo through the ages, urging us to take responsibility for our spiritual and moral well-being. He does not offer a roadmap of escape, nor does he promise a quick fix to the world's woes. Instead, he calls for a deep and individual commitment to the principles that transcend time, values that are anchored in integrity, truth, and a reverence for the sacred. The journey forward begins within ourselves and radiates outward into the world around us. It is a call for self-examination, for returning to the core of what makes us human, our capacity for compassion, humility, and devotion to higher ideals. The first step in navigating the path forward is a personal reckoning, a decision to stop being passive recipients of the world's messages and to begin actively shaping our lives according to values that reflect our truest purpose. This means being conscious of the influences we allow into our minds, the narratives we follow, and the choices we make on a daily basis. Tertullian emphasizes the power of individual agency in shaping the future, and it is by committing ourselves to live authentically and with purpose that we can collectively begin to reverse the tide of moral decay. Next, we must reconnect with the spiritual truths that have been overshadowed by modern distractions. This does not mean retreating into antiquated dogma or seeking comfort in the past. Rather, it calls for a reawakening of the core principles of faith that have sustained humanity throughout history. Spirituality, in this context, is not an abstract concept but a living, breathing practice that infuses every aspect of life. Whether through prayer, meditation, or reflection on sacred texts, returning to the wellspring of spiritual wisdom can help us find the clarity and strength to face the challenges of the present moment. On a collective level, the path forward requires a reinvigoration of community. Tertullian's vision of a spiritual renewal is not one that can be achieved in isolation. It calls for the coming together of like-minded individuals who are committed to living with integrity and sharing their values with others. This involves forging connections that transcend superficial divisions, connections based on shared principles of truth, justice, and compassion. As we rebuild these spiritual communities, we can create a ripple effect that reaches beyond our immediate circles and begins to transform the culture at large. At the same time, Tertullian's teachings remind us that this path forward will not be easy. The forces of corruption, misinformation, and moral decay are powerful, and the world we live in often encourages us to take shortcuts and to settle for comfort rather than strive for the higher calling. Yet it is precisely in these moments of difficulty that we find our true strength. The commitment to living a life of purpose, guided by truth and faith, will not always be easy, but it is in these struggles that we discover the depth of our resilience and the power of our collective will. Finally, the path forward requires hope, an unwavering belief in the possibility of renewal. Tertullian's writings, while cautionary in nature, are also filled with hope. The future is not set in stone. It is malleable, shaped by the decisions we make today. If we choose to embrace the values that are eternal and true, we can rise above the challenges we face and move toward a world where integrity, justice, and spiritual awakening flourish. As we stand on the precipice of this critical juncture, it is clear that the time to act is now. The choice is ours, to remain passive and complacent, or to rise to the occasion, embracing the path of spiritual renewal and contributing to the creation of a future grounded in truth, faith, and shared human values. In the end, it It is through our collective efforts that we can avoid the pitfalls of decline and bring about the transformation that Tertullian so boldly foretold.